Why do we always gotta act tough? I just never understood it. I never understood this concept that the community of the Tyrones and the Shaniquas always had to uphold. Why do we always have to have this tough, over masculine persona about our community? And it's just come to this point where it's just physically and just emotionally and it's just embarrassing, honestly. Yeah, I know. Every culture has their type of tough persona. You got the Yakuzas, you got the mafias, you got the drug lord type situations. Every culture has their type of tough persona. But in the Tyrone Shaniqua community, it's always present. You know, in those other cultures, they have those bad boy personas, if you want to say that. They have this dark side persona about them, but the majority of them still lie in a normal day, normal person kind of thing, like a actual uplifting type of environment. But in the black community, it's just always stagnant. It's always the same. It's always, if you ain't tough, you ain't nothing. If you can't be soft, you can't be showing emotion. You black, you gotta be this certain type. You gotta be this certain type of. You gotta have this certain type of persona about you. In every interaction, every type of situation, you gotta have this certain essence about you that is supposed to embode fear into another culture, into another person, or into yourself, honestly. And it's just like, what does that benefit? Does that benefit you? Has it been benefiting you at all? No, it has not. I don't get it, because to a point where I'm talking to children, I'm talking to women in our culture, and they always got to have this, I don't even want to say swagger, but it's like, you talking and you giving me this gesture, and you got to be like, hey, god dang, bro, I gotta get it. It's just like, what, man, can you just talk to me normal? You don't gotta, what is this? The only factor that this represents is a gun. And that's the thing I want to get into. These gestures and these icons about us that always personify violence in the community, whereas this obviously represents a gun. So who are you shooting? Who are you pointing the gun to? Because it's not the Caucasian community, it's not the Asian community, it's not the Indian community, it's not the Middle Eastern community. It's obviously your own community, because you want to see yourself above your own self by shooting them below. Because the gun represents power, ain't it? To have a gun means you have some kind of prowess over someone else. So you think. So you always represent this with a sort of power and a sort of bravado behind it. So you always place this in the music videos and the photos and in the movies. In every type of situation, we always have to represent ourselves with violence, or the gun, or sex, or any of those type of statutes. You put it up to your head, you put it up to your neck, you put it up to the other person, you always, you see, you got to do this when you're getting angry. All right. So yeah, when you use all these gestures to signify violence or signify your prowess over somebody else, I just never understood it. I never understood why obviously I just explained to you why we use a gun. I never understood the crotch grab. I never understood the Bosniak slurs and the over vulgarism of our sentence structure, or of our language, even to the point where we call it, where even our dialect is defined as Ebonics. I think that's what it is, Ebonics now. Well, and that's a whole different story. And it's just this over protruding, just vulgarity and just violence in every situation. Movies, every movie, and it's just to a point where it's sad. In movies, every one of our movies either surfaces on gang violence, You gotta join it. The little kids trying to get away from violence or something, or somebody's trying to get away from violence. Just over sexualization of our women, overexposure to violence with our children and men, and it's just like this getting out of this one thing to put ourselves into something better, but always forgetting and not helping out what we came from. And it's just always looking down back. It's just like this look down. I'm on top of the mountain. I'm just looking down now. It's like, I don't want to have any part of it, but I mean, it's going on. I bring up the movie point of view because in all movies, we do this. I just explained what kind of narrative our movies always portray. It's always something about guilt. It's always something about violence. Always something about sex. Always pushing these narratives. But then you go onto the other side and you see other industries or other communities, other cultures create these other type of movies where they actually put in forth an imagination. That's why one of my favorite movies, honestly, is by Ben Stiller. And it's a movie called, one of my favorite movies, a movie called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I absolutely love that movie. I don't know, it's because of the soundtrack or it's because of the directive camera work. My God, the directing and the production of that movie was phenomenal, man. He's a great director, honestly. Man, he should do some more stuff. But I really like that movie. And the premise of that movie it's so simple to us, to a mainstream audience. It's about traveling. It's about, well, it's not just about traveling. It's about, discovering yourself and not trapping yourself into something. It's all, they always have a hidden meaning behind it. But the main premise of, or what you're excavating in, or what you're participating in with the movie is traveling. Leaving your comfort zone and being something more than what you thought or what people deemed you to be. And that is insanely unheard of in the black community. If I ever see a movie, please introduce me if there is a movie like that. That is mainstream of, like, so you don't even have to be mainstream. But the point is, there is no movie of that circumstance that is mainstreamly accepted in the black community. It is unheard of. If you ever put that thing in someone's face, you got to be eating some kind of pork chop type dinner and doing all this type of nonsense, and you got to be all comedic and just revulsive in every other situation, in any situation in the movie, to have our attention, to have the black community's attention. You could not bring up the concept of leaving the country and learning to the black community. Imagine a movie where a brother or a sister is leaving the country, exploring the country, and learning a new language. Do you know how that could, and if that was popularized and that was mainstream, and the potential, no, it's not even the potential. Do you know how that would look in our children's eyes? If our children were to grow up with, instead of all this nonsensical TikTok booty shaking nonsense with the rap music, hip hop music, and you just sit down and let them, and just stop with the slavery. It's great. It's great to know somewhat of a history, but why always put this negativity into the minds of our children? Put in the resource of learning and developing, meeting other people, meeting other cultures. I know on this channel I always deprivate the black community. You can see it in my titles. You can see it in what I say. I always try to trash on the black community, but I guess to a point now where I'm realizing I got to stop trashing not trashing, but I always got to stop criticizing the community so heavily. I'm still going to, but in the sense I have to also put solutions. So what is the point of the violence? What is the point of the over violence? So where it's deprecating our children, our women, our men, definitely our men, and our image across the globe. They're going to see us in a light that we're not, and it comes down to this theory that I thought of. I call it the Chihuahua syndrome. You know how the big dogs, like the Greyhounds and the Dobermans and the German Shepherds, they're big, they're tough, they have their prowess about them. The Bulldogs, you you ain't supposed to mess with them. You're not going to mess with them. Even if they're quiet, reserved, playful, domesticated, love humans, licking you all over the place and everything. But if you mess up with the owner, and if that dog is trained, he will or she will mess you up. These. Only when you aggravate them, that's when they're going to mess you up. But then you have the small dogs. You have the small type of animals now. You have the chihuahuas. You have like the chihuahuas. You have the shih tzus. The shih tzus. Is that what they're called? I don't know. But you have the small type dogs that are, especially the chihuahuas. I like the chihuahua syndrome. I like the chihuahua syndrome. Just tiny little dogs that just get easily aggravated out of nowhere. They just always want to bite you, always screaming, always barking, always making all this noise and hollering and all. But you just look at them, you just look down on them. It's just like this small little pee-wee size toothpick stick legged dog that and honestly, I don't want to advocate this, but you can honestly take their legs and use two of your fingers and snap their leg. It's gonna be painful. Don't put. I'm sorry to put that imagery inside your head, but it's a real thing, man. You can literally take their leg and just snap it into two and without any effort. And that's what the black community is. Just hollering and yelling and screaming, just so emotional. That's the problem. The black community just derives itself off emotion. Just very emotionally weak. That's why everybody else, that's where we're at the bottom of the food chain. That's why everybody else takes advantage of this community. That's why it's so easy to take advantage of this community, because you're all emotional. Any one little thing will get you mad and get you uprising, instead of just taking it like a man. Instead of taking it like how you should, and learning and developing and seeing, how can we better ourselves? How can this not happen? How can we teach our other people? How can we formulate something that will not have this situation happen again? You just take it out of control, you take it out of bounds, and you just like holler and scream. It's like, oh man, we need our reparations. What are you reparating? If you get and it's a different story, my bad. But man, it's so emotionally saddening. Our culture is just derived, it's just sad. It's sad. It's very sad. So I came up with this chihuahua syndrome. It's like, the big dogs, and you know what they can do. But the chihuahuas, they're always beside you. They're always trying to show you. They're always trying to show something. They're always trying to play up or trying to be with the big dog. But we all know what the big dogs can do to the little dogs in just seconds.